Hello, my friend. You're listening to the Sort Yourself Out podcast. Today, we're continuing our karma series with part 3, asking the question and then trying to answer it. If you believed in karma, how would you live your life? I'm your host, Janine Hunt, natural health therapist for over 30 years, hypnotherapist, lifelong student, and spiritual seeker. I like to seek out the most effective practices and techniques that provide the greatest bang for my buck and the fastest route to freedom from whatever is holding us back. I can't wait to share with you these powerful techniques so that you too can sort yourself out, know deeper meaning in your life, and best of all, a sense of inner peace. So let's get started. Well, hello there, my friend. I deeply appreciate you joining me today for part 3 of our series on karma. In this week's episode, we ask the question, if you believed in karma, how would you live your life? Because there should be some conscious effort to modify and evolve how you live your life if you believe that karma is a thing. So in part 3, we'll be looking at the stuff we learned in parts 1 and 2 and giving it a more practical spin, both for how we live our lives individually and as a society. If you missed parts 1 and 2, you might want to check them out before you listen to this one, as each one builds on the one before. Here's a quick recap of what's been going on in this 3-part series on karma. Part 1 from 2 weeks ago is Karma 101. Here we looked at what karma is, how it operates in our lives, and we also addressed the big elephant in the room when it comes to karma. So that was episode 13. In part 2, episode 14, we discussed how to work off your karma. We got into some deeper karmic principles so that we can appreciate how we're generating our karma, and we delved into some qualities that we need to cultivate in order to work it off. Plus, I shared a really quick and easy practice that has a big impact on reducing the karmic implications of all the stuff that you get up to. So if you missed it, go check it out because this practice really does work. Now, today in part 3, we're asking the question, if you believed in karma, how would you live your life? And I really cannot wait to dig into this one as we're going to get really practical. As always, we'll be looking at the bigger picture, and we'll also be taking it down to the individual level to look at things you can do or not do, as the case may be, to have a big influence on your karmic load. So we'll be looking at how would you behave in the world if you believed in the principle of karma and how that can affect our lives individually and collectively. Because really, if you believe in karma, you're probably going to behave and express yourself in the world very differently from someone who doesn't. If you believe that karma is a thing, you'll probably be consciously endeavoring to modify and evolve your actions and your thoughts and your speech. So let's just have a quick recap of what karma is. This is a definition from the Ageless Wisdom. Karma is the law of cause and effect, or sowing and reaping. Karma means action and its coming into effect. In the mental, emotional, and material worlds, no good deed can escape its reward, and no evil deed its fit penalty. By this law, our characters are the exact product of our past evolution. Therefore, the future is now in our own hands. The Ageless Wisdom teaches that karma and reincarnation are two of the main ideas which humanity, at this particular time in our evolution, really needs to grasp and understand And then most importantly, act like we understand it. We need to bring our actions in alignment with that understanding. Something I like to think about is how would we, humanity, act if we all believed in karma and reincarnation? I think it would be very differently from how we act now. I think the world would be a totally different place. For one, if we believed we were going to keep reincarnating on this planet, we probably wouldn't be raping and pillaging and trashing it with no concern for future generations like we do now. We would think, hey, popping my clogs is no escape. I'll be back here in a few years, facing the effects that I caused, for good or for evil, in my past incarnations. And do I want to live in that post-apocalyptic wasteland we're busy creating now? No. So I'd better clean up my act. So imagine if the people in government around the world, and especially those that are creating the wave of separative and regressive and backward trends in our erstwhile most advanced nations, who are literally undoing decades of human evolution and right relations. Just imagine if they believed in karma, if they believed that they would reap what they sow, if they believed that their existence on the planet did not end with the death of this body. Don't you think that they'd behave differently? That society would be governed differently, with different values governing our actions in the world? Like, no, life is not all about the almighty dollar. It's not about having power over others. Do you think that we would even elect such people? If more and more humans believed in karma, these separative people would never even get into office. We would have way more enlightened leaders. And here is another aspect of karma that would have a huge effect on the way we live and on the state of the world. The ageless wisdom says that we are all one. We are parts of the one life within all of manifested life lives and moves and has its being. We are streams of the one energy source from which all energy, all life springs. If our politicians bought into this principle, I think we'd be living in a very different society today. No war or killing. We'd be sharing the world's resources, treating each other, the planet, and all other life with respect and compassion. Jiddu Krishnamurti said, "We seem to forget that the world problem is the individual problem, that the problems of the world are created by you and me as individuals. The problems of war, starvation, exploitation, and all the other innumerable problems that confront each one of us are created by you and me. And as long as we do not understand ourselves at every level, we will maintain the rottenness of the present society." Wow. So we can see by that we each need to accept our personal responsibility. And living as if you believe in karma is a fantastic way to proceed. In the spiritual reality, which underlies and is the source for our physical reality, we are one. So anything that harms another not only brings down the whole, but incurs negative karma. Okay, I just want to recap the types of karma we discussed in part 1, as they are central to how we behave differently if we accept the principle of karma. And they are also our guidelines for delving into the things we can do in day-to-day life to balance our karma and to create a better world by having a more holistic and inclusive attitude. So, according to the ageless wisdom, there are 3 types of karma that affect humanity. The first is karma that is generated out of deep ignorance and the result of being in dense physical form. Being in physical form or in a body is hard for the soul. It's so tight and messy. The energy inherent in our physical bodies is essentially the instincts inherited from the animal kingdom. Helena Blavatsky said that man is an animal plus a god. I love that. Part of the soul's development is to learn to master our animal tendencies whilst living in a physical body. When we handle this kind of karma by becoming more conscious, we correct it through experience and greater knowledge. The second kind of karma comes from having a materialistic focus for too long a period of time, and this is corrected by the development of the spiritual consciousness. Now, this does not mean that we need to live in a cave in a loincloth, but that a materialistic focus is appropriate for certain kinds of growth and development. And then when its purpose is served, it's time to move on to greater things that do not anchor us to the physical plane like materialism does. Thirdly, the worst kind of karma is karma that comes from willfully and deliberately choosing to harm in order to selfishly serve oneself, knowing that it causes pain and suffering to others. Torquem Saradarian said, "Good karma and bad karma balance each other." We must also add that since karma is always in the process of being made, every minute a man can change it to some degree. There is no karma that cannot be changed or balanced. Good karma, good deeds, good words, positive emotions, right thinking, and right spiritual aspiration. All of these things create a savings account in one's spiritual bank. Anytime one runs into any debt or expenses, he can easily draw upon his bank account to pay for it, or else the system of space arranges it so that it is paid for automatically. The law of karma is nothing else but the result of either acting according to the law of nature or breaking the law of nature. The greatest law that one can have in his mind is the law of love. Any act against love will cause a reaction. Nice. Thanks, Torquem. And that's why it's helpful to keep in mind that we are all one. Anything that goes against the good of the whole, of the one life, will have karmic implications, and not the good kind. So Torquem gave us a lot of ideas there about things that we can do to create good karma or balance our karma. Doing good deeds, using our speech wisely, having positive emotions, right thinking, and aspiring to live in alignment with spiritual principles. So there are a couple of interesting things in there that I want to expand upon. Although karma means action and its causes and effects, did you notice there is also thinking and emotions and speech in there? There's a principle in the ageless wisdom that energy follows thought. Not only do thoughts have an energetic vibration all their own, according to whether they are of a high or a low, or a selfless or a selfish nature, but thoughts also engage action, so they have a karmic effect in many ways. Energy follows thought. There is an energetic boomerang effect to our thoughts. Practice hatred, and it'll come back to you. Not necessarily in this lifetime, though, but you have set in motion an energetic current that will come back to bite you on the bum when the timing is right. And many people, even whole cultures, choose to live by the credo, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But this kind of worldview only sets in motion an unending cycle of violence, pain, and suffering. And sometimes we can get stuck in these ruts of blame and vengeance that go on because people are unwilling to make the sacrifices needed to arrive at peace, to give up the culture of blame and hatred and victimhood and vengeance that we need in order to move forward. There's a basic Buddhist principle that says, hatred ceases not by hatred, hatred ceases only by love. And love brings all earthly karma to an end, balancing it all out so we can get off of the wheel of rebirth, as we discussed in part 2 last week. Here is a beautiful teaching from the Buddha about how our thoughts influence our lives. The thought manifests as the word manifests as the deed develops into habit, and habit hardens into character. So watch the thought and its ways with care, and let it spring from love, born out of concern for all beings. As the shadow follows the body, as we think, so we become. So even thoughts have consequences. As human beings, we are creative beings. Our thoughts are literally creative energy. One way I like to keep my thoughts clean, it's a little odd, but I find it works, is to pretend that people can read my mind. This way, if a not so nice thought pops up, I just ban it completely. Try it. It does work. I think the main way that we can make change as a global society is to have more and more people who have raised their consciousness enough to accept the oneness of all life and who express and exhibit that through their daily life, relationships, and how they treat the planet. Gandhi said that we have to be the change that we want to see in the world. If there are enough people with these higher ideas, we won't be electing unscrupulous, separative political leaders. We need a critical mass of people who can see the bigger picture and live in alignment with it. So I'm going to break things down now into some smaller chunks to highlight the ways that you can walk the talk of believing in karma and begin to create more positive effects in your own life and also collectively in the wider world. Remember, practicing these things now may bring results in the near future, in your current incarnation, or possibly in future incarnations. But the time to start is now. So as we discussed in part 2, we need to cultivate detachment, dispassion, and discrimination, the 3 Ds, as well as live harmlessly in order to really walk the talk of believing in karma. If you apply the following points, you'll be freeing yourself of your own karmic obligations as well as lightening the world karmic load. Nice. Okay, let's go. So, 1, do you remember those cartoons that show the little angel on one shoulder and the little devil on the other one, and they're each trying to convince the character to act their way? Well, you too have the little angel and devil, also known as your conscience. Listen to your conscience. Listen to your gut. Even better, listen to your intuition. If something gives you a bad vibe, take notice. That's what it's there for. This is one area that I have noticed speeding up for me over the last few years. If ever I take the easy way out or the path of least resistance when a higher path would have been better, and I've got the little angel and the little devil, and still I take the easy way or the path of least resistance, I get a very quick, what I call karmic slap in the face. And I can always relate it back to that bad decision. And if you do act in a harmful way, just do what you can to make it right as soon as you can. And then don't do it again, of course. Okay, number 2, notice cause and effect happening in your life. Learn to look behind the circumstances and situations in your life to seek out the cause. This is a great way to understand how you are using your energies and forces. This means developing your powers to observe and being able to learn from your mistakes. As an example, I was reading an autobiography recently about the supposedly true Bridget Jones, and honestly, it was exasperating. If there was a really stupid and even painfully obvious shitty decision to make, this person chose it. Again and again. She never learned. She even reveled in her stupidity and her stupid choices. So learn to look at the energy currents operating in your life. Are you repeatedly making the same mistakes or attracting the same kind of negative circumstances or people into your life? Accept your present circumstances for what they can teach you so that you can operate at a higher level. Because believe me, these lessons will not go away just because we don't feel inclined to learn them. They will come back again and again, bigger, louder, scarier, and more disturbing until we choose to take notice, until we choose to do the work and learn what we need to learn from them. Okay, next one, number 3. This one leads on from the last point. What qualities do you need to develop to get out of these energy cycles or behavior patterns? Now, in the case of our real Bridget Jones, this person had to develop self-esteem and to become self-reliant. I'm going to give you an example from my life to show you how these forces can operate and be negated. I take care of our financial stuff in my household, but I am by no means a natural at this stuff. I just kind of inherited it by default, and I do not enjoy it, or honestly, even really understand it that well. Now, in France, our incomes are charged very heavily to cover Social Security, healthcare, and retirement stuff. And the French bureaucrats also devised a complex and convoluted, incomprehensible, and quite frankly, insane system that we have to use to work it all out. So I had a double whammy on the go of hating taking care of our accounts, as well as coping with the nutty French system. And how do you think I handled it? Well, obviously, like an ostrich. Yes, I stuck my head in the sand. I was overwhelmed. I was resentful on many levels, so I just kind of ignored things. And then guess what happened? I'd get reminders in the mail saying they'd added 15% onto our charges because of late payment. And it wasn't even that I didn't have the money. I was just sticking my head in the sand. I hated dealing with it. And what did that get me? It got me 15% more to pay on top of already huge bills. It got me groveling phone calls to bureaucrats, followed by groveling letters that took me ages to write in French to get exonerated from the late payment fee. And then, after a couple of months, I'd need to renew the whole bloody process, as the bureaucrats were all apparently sticking their sorry heads in the sand as well and ignoring their work. The upshot? My choices set in motion a whole world of pain and frustration beyond the initial pain that caused me to stick my head in the sand in the first place. I created a mountain more of difficulty and time wasted than if I just faced it and paid the damn bill when it was due. Now, I am not proud to say that it took me a few rounds of this kind of self-defeating behavior before I got a grip. In fact, it took a lot of sorting myself out on other levels and some quite big ones too, like quitting drinking and becoming more responsible in general. Basically, growing up. But I tell you, I can look at an issue like that now and know how to handle things efficiently and avoid all that wasted energy and time and angst. So look for things like this in your own life and decide what qualities you need to cultivate to end unprofitable energy currents or behavior patterns operating in your life. 4, release your hangups. As we discussed in part 2, your glamours and illusions keep you locked in fear and ignorance that create bad karma. Check out some of my earlier podcasts where I discuss the 3 phases of liberation so you can free yourself, learn to love yourself and respect yourself, and raise your consciousness. Release regret and bitterness and shame and remorse so as to not continue repeating actions and effects in an endless pattern. For those of you that are wondering, glamours are basically illusions on the emotional plane. Okay, next one, number 5. Inaction is also action. In times of confusion, when you don't know what the right choice or action is, you don't need to concern yourself with the fruits of your action. Just concern yourself with making the highest choice possible. Focus upon the inner reality and the bigger picture. And that is that we are all one and that we are creating karma singly and collectively. Number 6, examine your motives. Are they selfish? Do they serve the greater good? Are they likely to give you a karmic slap in the face or even a karmic whopper in a future incarnation? Having good motives is central to balancing your karma. Number 7, remember harmlessness. Go back and listen to the last episode if you need to. Ask yourself before you speak or act, is it useful? Is it necessary? Is it kind? 8, cultivate humility. If you're having a lovely incarnation filled with blessings and abundance, don't gloat and look down on others. Engaging in self-righteousness is a sure sign that you're generating karma. So be grateful for your blessings, share them with others, and make the world a better place. 9, practice forgiveness. This is a biggie. If you refuse to forgive others and release them and yourself, you bind yourself to them karmically. So forgive people and release your karmic bond with them. Now, I know that forgiveness can be hard to do, especially when you feel you truly have been wronged. But walking the talk of believing in karma means that you acknowledge that things are going on at a level that you cannot perceive. Trust that all is working out in good time and that it is not your work to spoil your life and your health by withholding forgiveness and holding on to blame and resentment. It's your work to cultivate detachment, dispassion, and discrimination so that you can try to see the bigger picture even when the causes and effects are not apparent in this incarnation. When you forgive, you free yourself and you free the other party. This way, there is less chance you'll be facing the same situation or person karmically in future incarnations. If you want to balance your karma, you've got to be willing to release your pain and trust in the grander scheme of things. Karma will look after it. Number 10, learn to master your mind so that you are not creating nasty thoughts and building habits and character traits that are going to have negative karmic implications. Remember that quote by the Buddha earlier. So do the evening review that I explained in the last episode in part 2 of this karma series and start to meditate daily, as these will bring all your motives and behavior patterns into your waking consciousness rather than leaving them buried in your subconscious mind. So that this way you can begin to observe your life and see cause and effect in action, and therefore be in a position to make better choices in the future. Torquem Saradarian said, "The first major step toward self-actualization is an attitude in which man confronts himself. This confrontation of oneself is the secret of conscious living. Confrontation is the only way we can start living consciously. Why am I doing these things? Why am I speaking these things? Why am I living this way? Why am I thinking this way or that way?" When you start confronting yourself, you start awakening. For no one can awake you except yourself. Now, if you want to confront yourself, awaken, and work off your karma, there is no better way to start than by meditating. And I know that many people struggle committing to a daily meditation practice. I faffed around for years dabbling in meditation before I got round to meditating every day. But it was the best thing I've ever done for myself in terms of my well-being and my state of mind, just everything. It was so helpful. So if you need some help to get started, I recommend you download my free quick start guide to doable meditation. In this guide, I provide really simple, no fuss instructions on how to meditate. And I'm talking meditation that only takes 5 minutes. So very little commitment to get you going, just 5 minutes. We can all find 5 minutes in the day, right? You can just get up 5 minutes earlier, watch 5 minutes less of TV. There's a zillion ways you can find 5 minutes to start. And I promise you, even 5 minutes will have a beneficial effect in your life. So in this guide, I give you a really easy way to meditate that is only going to take 5 minutes, but it can have a powerful impact. And I also include tips to make sure that you can fit it into your day and to move past any resistance you might feel about starting a daily meditation practice. So give it a go. There's a link in the show notes, or you can get my quick start guide to doable meditation at theinspirationcloud.com/SYO15. And that's the number 15, the digits 15, not the word 15. So that's theinspirationcloud.com/SYO15. Now, if you are loving learning about all of these fascinating topics and are gagging to know more, I have some really exciting news to share on how you can delve in more deeply, as well as amplify your own well-being and your positive impact in the world. In a couple of months, I will be opening the doors to my new membership experience, The Inner Circle. In this monthly membership, I'll be offering my most powerful top-down techniques to sort yourself out, to free yourself of your hang-ups and blockages, to take charge of your mind, and to nourish your soul. There'll be mini courses, hypnosis sessions, guided meditations, tapping videos, neurolinguistic programming techniques, mindfulness training, the ageless wisdom teachings, and way more good stuff. So wherever you are on your path to greater well-being, you can start right there where you find yourself and then take the next step. You'll have the tools, practices, and techniques you need to not just heal your life, but to make it more meaningful, fulfilling, peaceful, and beautiful. So if you're ready to transform your well-being and would like to be kept informed, go on over to theinspirationcloud.com/membership to get on the wait list. and I will keep you updated. That's theinspirationcloud.com/membership. And I will put a link to that in the show notes. Okay, my friend, I am going to wrap up now what has been a bit of a karma marathon for me. Phew, my brain hurts. I think I might just go and watch some mindless TV to recover. Or maybe I'll take a nice hot bath with some Epsom salts. We'll see. Anyhow, just remember, karma is all about balance and creating harmony. Try to bring some of what we've discussed in this series into your life, and you'll notice your energy and your karma beginning to shift for the better in the here and now. And your future yous in your future incarnations will thank you for it too. In fact, I'm going to throw in a little bonus pointer here based on what I just said. It's something that I try to do, and that is to actively focus and keep in mind that the things you do today are creating your future lifetimes. So make it good. Plan on creating higher future lifetimes. Nice. I love that. Keeps me on the straight and narrow, that one. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks so much for listening. I really do appreciate you choosing to spend your valuable time with me. It's so lovely. So have a great week, and I'll catch you next time when we'll be lightening up a bit to discuss those life-sucking household chores that we hate and how to get through them without your hatred eating you alive. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. I really hope you found it helpful and full of uplifting ideas that you can put into practice in your life. And if you have, chances are your friends and family will too. So please share it with them on social media. You'll be helping them to sort themselves out, because I bet you think they need it, right? But seriously, you'll also be doing me a huge favor, and I will be eternally grateful for your generosity. It would also be lovely if you would leave me a review on iTunes, preferably a nice one, please. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast while you're there. If you have any questions or would like me to address a certain topic, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at info@theinspirationcloud.com. Have a good one, folks. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.